you did. Yeah, I know. And I wanna talk about it. And I know you don't.
Welcome to Womanhood London. I'm your host, Monique.
And I'm your co-host, Nicole. And this is
Alexandra Bernard Simmons coming in from New York City.
I'm Katie Ware.
Let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about you and me. We are talking about sex, ladies.
Yeah.
The good, the bad, and the ugly.
the ugly, yeah.
Wow.
I'm really looking forward to this because I think for me, I was like, I wonder how this conversation will go down. So we've specifically taken all the men out of the room. We did used to have a male recording team and videographer, and we decided not to bring them in tonight because I thought the less guys that are in here, the more comfortable everybody will get and we'll talk. Really, we're just going to start with some really basic stuff.
I think we should start on the health, the health sides of sex. I mean, I was doing some research. It was saying that, you know, it's good for your heart rate.
Good exercise.
Good exercise. Although they were saying, you know, when you orgasm, it's like walking up some stairs. So they were saying you shouldn't just rely on sex. No, I'm saying that's the exercise it's equivalent to walking up a flight of stairs. So they're saying, and that's only when you orgasm. So again, you can't just rely on sex for exercise. But
no, you will also have
Please use the cross trainer.
But yeah, no, it does have a lot of health benefits, and that's relieving you from stress.
There's loads. It lowers your risk of prostate cancer, it lowers your risk of breast cancer. It also improves your mental health. We know that there's
and
lots
immunity,
of
I read.
Your immunity.
Yeah.
It does have a lot of actual health
We are
benefits.
not doctors.
No.
I actually read this on the NHS website.
Yeah.
So this is what they had said, and I found it really interesting.
I think it's interesting that also even we talk about like the benefits of sex. So these things come because there's also a connection there. But you know, obviously you can have sex by yourself. And there's a lot of talk right now. I've been reading it loads of different places about the whole thing of like meditation and masturbation and how good it is for your mental health. And there's loads of stuff out there. Yeah, so it's called meditation and masturbation.
Yeah.
And it's got like seriously good benefits for your health. So you don't have to have someone. You don't have to run out tonight and be like, shit, I need to lower my risk.
My health is at risk.
That's not, yeah. So, yeah, it comes from a healthy sex life.
One of the questions I would like to pose in regards to sex is, when you're like with someone, do you feel that you're open to what your likes and dislikes are in like about sex with the person that you're with? Do you think women are open, or do you think men are open to say, actually, I like this or I dislike that?
From what I've seen, I feel like women aren't comfortable with saying what they like and what they dislike, but the men will say that right off the bat, right? They will have that conversation as soon as possible.
Agreed.
But for women, we feel like we have to please them, so we're not even thinking about that, like our dislikes and likes.
But I saw something that was quite interesting, and sometimes, like, first of all, I think for me, it's important to have that conversation really early on so that that comfort level maybe is there, because from personal experience, if I waited years to have that conversation, then it's really difficult for me. Then it just becomes awkward and it becomes something that's not natural in this relationship to talk
At what
about.
point do you, I mean, I agree with you. I think it's important to have this conversation early on. At what point, at what stage do you have this conversation in regards to my likes and dislikes in sex?
I suppose when you start having sex.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, once you start having an intimate relationship with someone, and I think maybe it can get really awkward with the whole like, do you like this?
Yeah.
Or I think you can like switch it around a little bit and be like, okay, you know, like even if sometimes when, like, let's say I touch you in a certain way, like on whatever pressure I'm putting on you, I can almost say to you like, oh, is that okay? Is that nice? Do you like that? Or because it doesn't have to get so awkward where I think it's sometimes when we box it out and we're like, you know, do you like this? Do you want me to do this?
But I think men can see sometimes by facial expressions of whether you like something or not. I actually believe people aren't open to say what they like in the sense of whether it be, I don't know, choking. Like those type of, because they might feel embarrassed to say, this is what I like, or this is, do you know what I mean? Or like, oh my God, you're a freak. Like, these are the things, I think they are scared to say. I think people are scared to say that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
If that's the case, then maybe you both are not ready for sex as a couple or as two people becoming one, because I feel if you are not on the same level where you can, if he doesn't know, or if you haven't kind of preliminarily discussed it, then perhaps we're not really there yet. Right?
I also feel sometimes it can come in a physical situation. So you're getting intimate, everything's then maybe for me it's more natural to be like, to figure it out.
And I don't think it has to be a conversation.
Yeah,
like it doesn't have to be like, I really like this. It's just like,
that's where the best sex comes from.
Yeah.
Because if you don't know what the other person likes, then how are you going to have a beautiful time? And I think the only place where you can be completely yourself is privately with that one person.
Yeah. 100%.
So let's make that place a beautiful place by really confirming what you like and what I like, because it's all about pleasure. And if we can't pleasure the other person in a place where it's acceptable and okay and comfortable, then why are we doing it?
I agree.
I love that. That's so strong. But I imagine that could be a little bit difficult for some.
But then we can take it to the other perspective where we're doing it just to please, or just to accommodate, or there are many other reasons why women do go to that place, and I don't think that's really in question. But I think the main point here is, if we are going to that place, are we really there yet? And I think if we're not, and you're still a bit like, then maybe we're not, and we need to address specifically when you said about being confident and knowing yourself. I think that's where that pleasure and that great place comes from. Knowing yourself, accepting yourself, loving yourself, and not really accepting anything less.
Absolutely. So I never had the conversation prior to becoming intimate with a person. I kind of want to see what they're working with first, because sometimes guys are different.
I'll score you out of 10.
Right.
We'll chat after.
Exactly. Because I remember the first time I got choked, I'm like, wait, I don't think I like that, right? So, but she looking at me like, really? But then now I was able to speak to him like, remember that time you choked me? Yeah, I almost died. So that's part of the repertoire of what I want to do in the bed with you. So, we had that conversation. We had that conversation afterwards, after we kind of felt each other's body and see how we move and things like that. So, and I don't see me having it like before that, but I want to, see how you move. Because maybe in another relationship, I may have not liked the way he did it because he's whack at it. But then in the new relationship, he actually doing really good. So we'll work with that.
I think guys slip it into the conversation. I think they do.
No, it comes into the message. Somewhere in the WhatsApp.
I don't know if they're really ready for that response. Because sometimes they might just be fishing, and then you first time, and they're like,
exactly.
I wasn't ready for that.
Well, actually, I like this, and then they're like, okay, she's actually answered my question. So.
And then I think it relates to the, being confident, the men not being so confident. They're like, okay, wow, I just got very significantly shut down. I don't know if I'm like okay with that.
So I think as well, because of the job that I do, I work in lingerie. So every time I go on a date with a guy, I lie about what I do, and I tell them that I'm a stylist, because the minute I mention lingerie, their mind starts to wander. They start thinking about having sex with me and what's in my lingerie drawer, and it's very hard. And the thing is as well, my friends are always like, Katie, stop wearing your nice lingerie, like the first time, the second, keep that for when he's worked hard for it. But I'm like, I want to wear my nice lingerie because that's what I like to do.
They did the whole matching, looking beautiful underneath.
But that is what I love, and I don't. But I have heard it multiple times. Like, he needs to work for that, and I'm like,
but that's your
just
style,
want to do it.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
That's what you bring to the table.
Completely.
Yeah, but I think it's interesting. I find it.
Why do women have sex? Why are we doing it? Because I think that's an interesting conversation for me. Is that the motivation behind it is at the heart of a lot of bad sex. Because if you're trying to please somebody, or you don't want someone to leave you, you want them to like you, you know, are we honest in our own reasons for being intimate with people? So what is your
really, I was looking
That's a heavy question.
and I was
Very
reading
question.
some research by a sex therapist. She's actually the oldest sex therapist on the planet. She's 100 years old. Her name is Dr. Zeusman.
Is that from loads of sex? She
What's
got to 100.
Exactly. She's got a great heart rate. She's very healthy. No breast cancer. No, but she was saying that, like, for men and women, sex is actually the same thing. It is about a connection. It is not about anything other than a connection. It is you're seeking connection, he's seeking a connection. Although your experience of it is different because you're a woman and he's a man, ultimately we have sex with each other because we need a connection. And that's one of those things again.
Is it always a connection for men?
No.
I disagree with that.
So
Yeah.
you're 100%
You're-
correct. Like, sex to me is a sacred act.
Of course.
For
yes,
connection.
Yes.
How I was also reading an article that said men lose that connection with sex because of pornography and over masturbation, right? So now they can disconnect the act of connection through sex because they know how to get orgasms by themselves without the connection.
Of a woman,
So
yeah.
now when they do have sex, it's just for that last feeling, just for the orgasm, and they can care less about the connection. And that's over time because pornography has become something that first it was like in little magazines and then into like old porn tapes, and now it's like on your phone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? So
That's true for women as well.
yes, of course, it's coming up for women as well. And now we have sex addictions and things like that because of unhealthy sex habits. And even when you have an addiction, you're still trying to fill a void. So it still goes back to connection in some way, but you just don't even know how to get there. So that's a beautiful point that you brought up about sex.
Yeah, and what was really interesting is the fact that so today we're having less sex than we've ever had.
Really?
We're having a lot less sex than we've ever had. We're having less sex than our parents. We're having a lot less sex than our grandparents. And the reason is
We're tired.
your phone. Because the reason is your phone. So what happened when you brought in the iPhone is that you now have something else to look at, and the less you look at someone in the eye, the less of connection there is, and the less of connection there is, the less of a desire there is to be with that person. And we're all so busy looking and being fulfilled by our phones that connection, and that's what all these sex therapists are reporting. They're seeing couples and couples and couples that can't connect with each other because they're actually so engrossed in their own life, their own phone, their own social media, everything that's going on here, that they don't look up to look at each other. And without looking at each other, the desire starts to disappear.
Across the board.
Yeah,
That's across the board.
Yeah.
Social media. Yeah. Social media is making people antisocial. It's
Exactly.
But it's also affecting the bedroom.
Yeah.
Massively, and it's not just, and also because our desire outside of a relationship is also less to seek the connection, because you've got so much fulfillment from all the things that you're reading, all the things that you can, like indulge in. I think women are even finding more of a connection with each other, like that need and desire to have a connection with a man or a female is lessening as time goes on. But I thought it was so interesting, the fact that they were saying like all of the phone. It's your phone. Because we're not
Daggone
looking
devices,
at, we're not looking at each other in the eye.
We can't live in the moment anymore because of these devices.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. But I mean, it's crazy that you say that, because in the States it was like a record high of STDs. I'm like, Jesus Christ. But
That's something completely different.
Yeah, that's why I was like, what's going on out here?
Resistance.
and that's why I'm like, I feel like people would be more terrified, but it goes back to people are evolving. It goes back to what I said before in our last conversation in regards to romanticism is dying. So the connection in sex is dying. So we are just sleeping with people, not for the sacred act of connection and for sex, but because guess what? Men has been doing that for us for years, so now we're doing it back to them. And now everybody has multiple sex partners, and energy-wise, you're having so many energies on your back.
Yeah.
And it's too
I
much,
always
and
say
people
that.
don't see sex like that. It's really an energy game, and unfortunately, you're
I
keeping
see
it.
it, sorry to cut you, a transfer of energy when
Yes.
you connect to someone anyway. So I'm not, for me, not laying down with Tom, Dick and Harry, because I don't want that energy. And also, obviously, my body's a temple and sacred, but it's definitely an energy thing in that connection, even when you're having sex. Yeah.
I went on a goddess retreat and we did yoni meditation.
Oh, wow.
And now I have a yoni egg. And for me, that was a massive thing. So,
Okay, what's
a
the
yoni
yoni
egg?
the yoni egg is, well, mine's made up of jade, but it can be made from rose quartz. And I also do amethyst, and obviously my mum's a Reiki healer as well. So like I'm kind of all about the energies, but I didn't realise how much someone else's energy affected you until I did the yoni meditation. So you insert the yoni egg into your vagina and then you do meditation.
Nice.
So for me, I enjoy sex and I like men, and but I didn't realise like the negative effect that it was having on my mind, because I was like, I'm enjoying it, I'm having a great time, until I did the meditation and like realising that I needed to get rid of all this energy that was held in my womb. And for a woman, like your womb is the central of your body, and it holds emotion and it holds energy. So to just get rid of all those people who have ever entered me and entered their energy into me, just to like do that and like have a cleanse, was the most amazing and empowering thing of my life. And actually through that I then became more focused on my goals. And we did vision boards, and I was looking for John Legend, I was looking for Luna in these magazines. I was looking for words of love and romance and couples, and this was me 5 years ago, 25. I was seeing words, female boss, fly high, the stars are your limit, all of this stuff. And I was like, wait a minute, like it's my career, this is my time for that, not for the love. And then with the whole just cleansing myself, and it was honestly, I say to all ladies, I always tell my ladies, get a yoni egg and put it in and spend time. Just there is the yoni meditation on YouTube, but just think about your womb for a while. Think about your vagina. Think about how sacred that place is. And just show yourself some respect.
Absolutely. Can I
That's
ask,
right.
How long do you keep? How long's the process? Do you do it 3 times, 2 times, once?
So I do it when I feel. They say not to keep it in for longer than like 15 to 30 minutes, just because obviously it's quite heavy and things like that. And you can do your Kegel exercises whilst the yoni is inserted as well, which is amazing. So it really keeps your sort of uterus strong and all of that, and your Kegel's working. But they come in lots of different sizes. You do your research online, but for me, like
Do you feel that since using the yoni egg and taking the path of the feminine goddess energy, the work that you've been doing, and now valuing your vagina, your womb, your sexuality, has that changed your attitude towards sex now? Do you feel more precious about what you do with your sex now that you've honoured it?
I'm more in tune with my body, and I think because of the work that I do in 10 years in the lingerie industry, I've always been, I'm body positive, I love myself, but actually I didn't have that self-love. It was masked by body positivity, and it was kind of, always hyping another woman and then not having that hype for yourself. And I think that's what that opened up to me, was actually I need to really respect who I am.
Would you have a one-night stand?
So yes, I would have a one-night stand, because I do believe in being in that moment as well, and kind of like, I know I always make sure it's safe, but I just think sometimes I like that energy. I don't do drugs, so maybe that's my drug.
Because you said that, so what is, I want to go to like body counts. Because I've had this conversation with men and women in regards to how many sleeping partners you've had. And I found that a lot of guys, which is normal, have a problem if a woman has X amount of number of men that they've been with, in regards to, I don't feel like women, maybe I'm wrong, you can correct me, for me, I know it's a question that I don't ask, and I don't think I've really...
Are you scared of the answer?
No, I don't actually think
I think I might have been.
I don't think I've thought about it as deeply as now. Maybe I was younger and I didn't think about it, but now...
Maybe that you know better.
Yeah, I think now I probably may ask, but then I still don't know what number for me is...
It's problematic.
But I don't think it should be problematic, and I don't think it should define you as a person either, because a lot of that happened in the past.
I agree.
So
I think
you shouldn't bring it
into
into your future.
on this one, because half of me is like, when I hear about it and I'm reading about it and I'm like the sexually liberated woman, I'm like, yes, go, go. You like enjoy your life, like have all the experiences you want to have. Like I stand behind you 100%. Then I was thinking about it when we were talking about it, and if I went on a date with a guy and he sat down and he volunteered, because I don't think I've ever asked the question, but if he did volunteer, like, yeah, do you know what I mean? I've probably slept with like at least 1,000 girls. I probably won't call him.
Right, and that's exactly what I was gonna say. Like
that's
it goes
Why?
back to energies, because he's carrying all
because
that
I
energy.
feel like it's just too
But how
much.
has he not
But I
found
don't know.
himself after all of that?
Yeah,
That could have
I
been his journey, his learning curve, his
Maybe.
life lesson.
It could have been,
I
but
agree.
That to become the man that he is, and now he's so ready for anything.
But
that's
the
the
and
possibility.
everything.
But then, if you have 1,000, what's your intentions with me?
That's
Yeah.
my thing.
But it
That's
could be
exactly my
everything.
thing.
It could be completely the BN, the what is it, the end all and be all, whatever it is.
But I
It could
think
be all
at the
about
back
you.
of my mind, I'll always be thinking, am I 1,001? Am I another number? I don't think
But I don't think you should be thinking that if you're having sex with someone that is the person that you're sharing. If you're sharing that moment with somebody, I don't feel like you
Not
need
in
to
the
be
moment.
questioning
No,
that.
not in the moment. We're talking about having a conversation now. And I've asked him what your, I don't know, body count is, and he said 1,000, like Nicole said. My mind would be thinking, am I serious then to you? Is this serious to you? Is
I
it
think
just another...
I never asked the question, and I never have been asked the question,
Me
but I
either.
think internet dating kind of puts a label on body count as well, because when you're
Does
having
it?
a conversation with someone
Yeah.
on Bumble, your immediate is, are you looking for a relationship, or do you want a bit of fun?
Right.
What is this? And immediately it sets a tone. Like they're asking you, so what are you looking for? I don't know, babes, I'm just on it. Like, do you know, I'm not saying I just want to go and sleep with every guy I swipe right to, but at the same time, if we're in a bar and we're having a great time, who knows what that might lead to?
Right.
Why are we already saying
Yeah.
that you, Mr. Man on the internet, I want to sleep with you,
Yeah.
and that is it?
That's not about body count, though. That's about your intention.
But I think to him,
That's nothing. Them saying what are you looking for is where you're at in that moment. It's not to do with your number. It's to do with where are you at. Are you looking for something serious because I'm not offering you that, or are you looking for a bit of fun because I'm dope?
but for me, I'm like, if he's asking me just for a bit of fun, his numbers might be high, because how many girls has he asked
I don't
on
think that's
his-
fair. I don't think that's fair, because I think us as women are the same. It's where you're at in that moment. Personally, I don't think.
And see,
that's-
women, we have to
For
be
me, it's more of a
careful.
health thing.
Yeah,
if you're
exactly,
sleeping around
yeah.
and you're having unprotected sex, I don't want to have sex with you.
Agreed.
If you're being safe and your numbers are higher, then but you're putting something on it, then maybe I'm okay. It's more of a health thing for me.
I think it's a health thing, but also if it's people, I'm a bit of both. If it's a health thing, and it's got to be, is it a bit like 100 people that I know that we might bump into, that we could be in a room, like, hey, where's your man? But it could be, do you know what I mean? Those type of things as well. It will play on your mind a little bit if you're open and honest about it.
And the thing, I think women, we're so forgiving, right? And I feel like we will overlook that number,
100%.
but that could be your red flag.
Yeah.
Why are women constantly ignoring the red flags? We have to, you're so correct with the health thing. I want to go back with that. We're in a day and age where STDs could still be contracted with condoms on. We're talking about HPV that give women cancer. If you had 1,000 partners, there's a probability you're carrying the HPV gene. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
There's a probability that you do have it. And now when it's transferred to me, I'm the one who may get cancer and you're going to walk out free. So we have to pay attention to these red flags. We can't say, you know what, 2019, everybody's sleeping around. Our room is our temple.
Exactly. That's how I
And,
feel.
if that's a red flag for you, that's a red flag. Move on to the next. We always ignoring the red flags.
I agree. But I also think Christina Aguilera, way back in the day, can't hold us down. Like, you know, it's not just a 2019 thing. It's been a thing for a while. Like a man can be like, I've slept with how many? But a girl can be like, I've slept, and then with a bad
Yeah,
person.
but isn't that our fault? Isn't that our fault? Because we don't condemn them, but they condemn us.
I don't think we ask. I don't ask the guy.
Yeah, I don't think
I think
Yeah, but-
men ask women. I don't really think women ask men.
Yeah, but I'm just saying,
Ignorance
even if
is
we
bliss.
did ask, even if we did ask the question, we're not condemning them for that. We're like you said, we're a bit more forgiving. We're a bit more okay.
We're like,
Whereas
add
for
100
them, they're
onto
like
what they
condemning
tell
us.
you.
Oh, you've got 50, I've got 49. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
it's
Double
that's, I
standard.
think that's our fault, our problem then. because we're letting them get away with it, and we're not championing maybe our women that's sleeping with how X amount of people, where men are like, yeah, like you're a whore, like,
Right.
to the guy.
But
It's amazing to them.
It's
where
something that's
we get
changed.
slut shamed.
Yeah. So that's always been there.
Yeah.
And that's what's maybe slowly changing a little bit, is that the more empowered women become, the more they're like, you can't slut shame me. I'm quite happy with what I'm doing with my life. I'm very comfortable with the decisions I make. There's no, you can't shame me.
It is
And I
each
think
to
it's
their own.
only like, it's always been the way where men have had more power over women in the past. The gender norms have been different. You know, the roles of women and men have been different, and that's changed maybe in the last 40 years. So much has happened in the last 10 years, I think, personally.
What point do we then have this conversation with ourselves, as mothers? What point do we have this conversation with our daughters about your sexuality, about owning your sexuality, about touching yourself, discovering? Because you know, the start of this conversation was about what you like, owning what you like, and I think if there's a problem in women being encouraged to find out what the hell you like in the first place. And I don't believe for a nanosecond that you should be waiting until you are in a relationship before you start to figure out what you like. I think we should be encouraging. I remember when I think it was 11, I found The Joy of Sex back in the day, God almighty, it was years ago, and finding this book and looking at it, like 70s hairy people, and looking at it and thinking, oh my God, what's going on? And I couldn't stop flicking the pages.
Oh, God.
And I felt these tingles all over my body,
Yeah,
and I started to touch myself, and this strange thing happened, and I didn't know what the hell it was. That was like my first orgasm. Then, because partly raised Catholic, but because nobody was there to instruct me, look, it's okay to touch your breasts, it's okay to touch this, it's okay to put your finger here, it's okay to do these things. It took me a long time to actually be able to be at an age as an adult woman to go, well, actually, I like it when you tie me up. Do you know what I mean? And going on that journey to own my sexuality. So as a parent, what I did with my daughter, when she was about 13, I think it was, I sat her down, and I didn't sit her down, we were in the bathroom, and I got her to look at her vagina and to look these things here, and this knobbly bit does this bit, and to go and have explore yourself.
Wow. You're a good
And
mom.
and I know that now, as an adult, she has good sex because she tells me. But
Fantastic.
she tells me. But what I'm saying is, at what point is a good? What do you guys feel about a point of having this conversation? Would you have
I'm
benefited if
guilty
you
of
had
being
it?
really shit on this one.
Yeah,
Because I grew up really strangely in the sense that obviously my dad was very frivolous, my mum was not so much, but still coming from a Scandinavian background, we're very, you know, like we're all fucking topless. And then on the flip side of that, like all my friends were Muslim, so it was just such an odd combination that I never knew what was right or what was wrong. Like it was really strange sort of growing up in that. So with her, I think I really did, unfortunately, at an early age, kind of say to her, you know, like, be careful with your reputation, like, you know, and I feel later on now, I feel a bit guilty about that. She's gone out, she's made some really good decisions, and I'm really proud of her, but I certainly didn't do anything supportive of her sexuality, probably the opposite. I probably told her, like, be careful, and young boys, they want this one thing, and like I was trying to protect her, but at the same time, like maybe you don't know as a mother, like when you say something, you're always second guessing, like was it the right decision, was it the wrong decision, you know, that kind of thing, and especially like having these conversations now and talking like openly about sex and stuff. Whereas I've just been like, make sure we finish uni, yeah. Make sure we finish uni, keep taking, you know.
Sometimes I'm so happy I had a boy. Oh my God. Like I prayed on it when I was pregnant. I'm like, God, we had a deal. Please let me have a boy. And I do. But growing up in a Caribbean household, oh my God, I'm listening at this like, oh my God,
that is amazing, right?
Wow. My mother would have killed herself if she had to have that conversation with me. Jesus Christ. But you know, it's funny, my sister did buy my niece a book, so probably a book similar to what you found. And I thought that was cute. I'm like, you know, I'm gonna just pray for y'all. This is above me. Because I have a son. And
I've got a daughter and I'm thinking, what is the book?
Right, what is this book, right? But that's so, I mean, kudos to you. Like, wow, that's an amazing conversation to have. Good luck for everyone here.
But don't you feel, even with a boy, there's still a bit of a conversation that you still...
So with my son, the fact that he sees both of his parents' interaction, that's one lesson that we're teaching him without words. Father love on his mother every single chance that he gets, serving me and me doing it back. So he's seeing that. One thing that my husband does with him is he always says, Elijah, one at a time. So he's teaching him that infidelity is just not the way to go. Because, you know, he's such a handsome young man. And those little girls be calling the house, I'm like, can I help you, please? But the thing with that, too, is I actually let him have his little relationships. Because they're going to do it anyway. So you might as well be their friend in the process. Because I remember one time he broke up with his girlfriend, he was crying, oh my God. I'm like, first of all, we need to stop this. Like, I let him feel what he felt. But I'm like, you have to understand, this is just not the one for you. You're only in 7th grade. Let it ride out, okay? Let it ride out. But it's just the fact that we have to give them the space to find out, like you said, what they like. But I leave that conversation, you know, like this conversation to his father and him. I just throw in some gems every single time. I do throw things out about STDs just because they're learning that in health, right? Because someone else is going to teach them. Yeah. So it's like you just have to try to find a way to get in there.
I did that my way was sitting down watching Love Island with my son. He's 15, so that was my way of talking about STDs. That was my way of saying, again, one at a time. And that was my way of also finding out his judgment on the behaviour of certain women and characters that was on the show. And I was proud. So again, I think it's definitely important to talk to, if you've got any children, about, I don't know if I could do it the way you did it, but it's you never know, but yeah, definitely to talk about it with your children, you know, the same.
Okay, do you then show with women and girls how different we are? The fact that you were praying for a boy, because to bring up a woman is so much harder. We have to go through so much more. We have a fear of getting pregnant during our teen years and having to bring up that child, and that being ours, because as a mother and a maternal person, is put on our shoulders. So let me have a boy because do you know what I'm saying? And it's just like, again, it goes back to that educating the guy in the same way that we educate the women. We need them to feel some of the social pressures that women have, that we shouldn't just let them be because they're guys, they don't have hormones, they can't have children, like all of that stuff. It just needs to be aired, and we shouldn't have to feel that like pressure as a woman.
And it's funny, and I tell him, if you get a girl pregnant, your basketball dreams are out the window. Like, we have those conversations because we're not letting you walk out on anything that you created, right? So it's like you said, I prayed for the boy, but as a woman, I still try to have those important conversations.
And
like, you are still accountable. Because guys, they be out. Like, you are still accountable. So
But do you think your relationship with sex, okay, going on from talking about young people and your children and everything, is there a correlation between your first time and, like, do you think that if we, like, the first time that you ever had sex, your first sexual experience, does that have any impact on how you view it today? Has it had... I'm sorry. Obviously, I've had it for the first time, but I'm just wondering, like, was it a good experience? Was it a bad experience? Was it like, did you do it just because you needed to get it done?
That was me. That's why I started laughing. That was me. I was so strategic. Like, I don't know why. Cause I don't know if it's because I'm an Aries. I don't know what it is. But I'm like, I'm going to have sex with my best friend at the time because that's the only boy that I trust. So if I mess it up, that's all right. I'm not going to be judged. Right? It was so strategic.
That's quite good.
So it was like, I got it over with, thank God. Now let's go after the guy I want, right? So that's why I laugh all the time, because my first time I felt safe. I was in a safe space with someone that I was friends with for a very long time. Of course, that friendship didn't last because we did do that. So that's something that I did lose. And I think I was around 15, 16 years old. But I just got it out the way in such a comfortable way. And then you said that's young?
No, that was confusing. But how do you have sex with a friend? Like, you're intimate, you kiss, and...
Yeah, it was intentional. Like I said, it was strategic. It was strategic. And you know what it is too, boys, it's not that hard to convince them to have sex. Like, it wasn't really, like, we're taking we weren't as close anymore. But it hurt.
Mm-hmm. Oh God.
And now it hurts so bad. I was like, this sucks. I'm like, I don't even think I want to do this anymore. But we did it like maybe 2 or 3 times after that. Got all the jitters out, and then now I feel like, oh, I'm a woman. I'm about to explore, right? So it was just one of those things. So thanks for bringing that up. That's
I think in my life, I've just always been like, I don't want to do anything I'll regret. So it's always like, have no regrets, even if it's a one-night stand, if it's a guy I kissed, or if it's a relationship that I'm in for 5 years or whatever. Like, I never want to do anything where I look back and think, I wish I'd never done that. And I can say now at 30, I've never had that moment of, I wish I never did that. I wish I never... I learned from that, and I don't want to be that person. I don't want to do, and I go forward and I learn things to make me a better person. I think that's the best way to be. Like that. Full stop. Yeah. Just because if you are gonna look at things back and be like, I'm so regretful. I wish I never ever did that. And that's not gonna take you anywhere. No. Look at it in a different way with different eyes and just be like, okay, that was not for me. What did I learn from that? And then just move on. Because if you sit there with all these regrets, that will make you bitter. It will give you chips on your shoulder. Just let that go. And I think I don't have children, but like I always say to my mum, how did you like never let me do drugs? Like how did this happen? How did like can I just give you my children? And like tell me how can I educate my children to be like me? Like what was that formula? And she's like, I don't know. Like it just happened. She's like, well, I guess it's just hard. Like bringing up kids like that terrifies me. Yeah. And the whole sex and the STDs and all of that stuff. It's like, oh my gosh, that's a really scary world. STDs are higher among the plus 50s today. Yeah, really? Yes, because they're all getting divorced. They're all going out there.
Going crazy.
They're going crazy. They turned up out there.
Wow. Have the same view as maybe some of the younger generations on protecting themselves. So they come out now and they're just like, you know, plus they've been taking antibiotics for a lot more years than younger people have. So there's a lot of resistance. So it's not, but that's actually the truth.
Watch out for the 50 and over crowd, y'all. Watch out.
That's my posse.
Oh no!
Sorry. No shade.
Maybe second date down the medical clinic. Just like, I'm meeting that. I picked you an E10. We'll go for coffee
after. Does anyone use like toys and things?
I'm a massive lube fan.
Yes. Massive lube, yeah, me too. Because I be busy. I'm like, look, where's the lube?
Tell me if I'm asking these questions out of time. But so do you use your toy alone?
I used to.
So.
But I don't have a toy right now. It's run out of battery. I bought a new one.
So it's not because you're in a relationship?
No, it's not because I'm in a relationship. And then I bought a new one, and we just haven't really used it yet.
So would you?
But I would.
By yourself or within your relationship? Okay. So.
But by myself, I actually prefer not to.
I'm honestly asking this because on the flip side, I was talking to someone about men watching porn in the relationship and how that makes a woman feel.
See, I dealt with this when I was really, really young.
Go ahead.
I'm just going to out him. I had a boyfriend and he was obsessed with porn. And I remember I used to wake up like in the middle of the night and I would go into the living room and he'd just be there.
Oh, wow.
And I was so young. I was so offended. Yeah. I was so disgusted that I would just like shame him all the time for that shit. I would just be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And all these things. But I have to say at the time, it was just too much for me and I was too young and I didn't understand it. And I think as I've got older, I feel like, I don't know, I've got a bit of a weird relationship with porn. I think it's really healthy if you are using it in a healthy way. Like it doesn't get too much, you're in control of it. On the flip side, and I also used to think like it's actually a really healthy place to get like some of your fantasies fulfilled in a visual sense. You might not go out there and act on everything, but if it's something you're like, ooh, you know, you can watch it and you can enjoy watching it. But what worries me is maybe what you I don't know, what seems to be playing out more so is that porn's getting more and more aggressive, and there are things, and you're not getting satisfied by that, and now you need to go out and do it physically.
Right.
And that's, for me, where I don't think it's healthy.
That was what I was going to touch on. So I read an article that said that men are watching so much porn that now they're expecting these pornography, porn moves in their regular lives. And women, we wear so many hats. We are the working woman, the mom, and all this. And when it's time for sex, we don't want to be flipped up and around all the time. Like, sometimes we're just really tired. But they still expect this porn sex in the bedroom.
Well, it's
and the pressure,
unrealistic.
Right? It's unrealistic expectations, and the pressure that some women are having now. Like, we're losing. We're losing in the bedroom to pornography.
Yeah.
And it helps. It doesn't help with women's self-esteem.
No.
Because now men are complaining. Well, you don't do this. You don't do that. You don't do that. Like, I don't even know how to do that, bruh. Like, you just saw it on a tape or a video, and now you want me to, flip it and reverse it, and I'm not really sure how she did that, right? So it's just this, and sometimes that happens in marriages, right? It happens in marriages. Like, you have these now you're together for so long, and they still expect this porn type sex. Like, bro, go get the toy so we can do something with that, and stop making me have to do so much work.
I think
right?
there's something that's coming, something that you touched on there, which I think is a concern for parents of girls, is because, like I said, when I was younger, the pornography I grew up with was 70s porn, which is just rubbish compared to what they've got now. It's absolute rubbish.
Conventional.
But the porn that young people are being introduced to now, my concern is for the girls who are seeing this. Oh my God, no, this extreme, the kind of porn that's normal. That I've seen, that my daughter's, I've had these conversations with my daughter. The kind of porn that kids are seeing now is what I would have, when I was younger, would have been way on the top shelf kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? Where it's become normal now, and the expectation is girls kind of expect themselves. That's what they think.
The young
There's
girls
not
are
even the
confused
boys.
now with that.
It's the girls who are starting to think that, well, I'm supposed to this extreme slut sex is normal, is what it's about, and the young girls are thinking about.
And these young boys are actually expecting that from these young girls that never had sex before.
Exactly.
It's ridiculous. It's sad.
Everyone's going to be a little bit disappointed.
Yeah.
Maybe men feel pressured to last long because in porn men are like going for like half an hour.
Oh yeah.
I think this spirals from education in school, because that's where you're taught. If you're not taught in school about how things are meant to be, then how are you going to learn?
Absolutely.
Because if you haven't got the parents, not a lot of people have parents that are doting and responsible and do the right thing. Exactly.
Open parents,
You might have a very religious family. You might have a very, I don't know, maybe a mother that's very scared because of her partner. There's many reasons. We don't even need to get into them. There are many reasons why young people don't really know about sex, because a lot of people are. Actually, no, we can't talk about this in school.
More like a closed door household.
It is, exactly, and I think we all know that knowledge is power, and if you don't have that knowledge to grow and learn, how can you know what's right for you?
I think that's why I'm the opposite, because my mum wasn't open about it in that way. I'm on the flip side very open about it with stuff with my children, and it could have stemmed from my mum's past, I don't know, but I agree with you. It has to come from just being open, and it depends on your situation.
There's actually something that you said that I wanted to touch on really quickly. Men do have the type of pressures as well.
100%.
I have a kind of like similar to you. My best friend, we've been best friends for 24 years. He's a guy. And he used to tell me, like when we were growing up in college and stuff, he used to tell me that he used to have to masturbate before a girl came over.
I've heard that one so many
in order
times.
for him to last long, because the standard for the guy is for them to go all night long, right? So it goes both ways.
Sometimes I'm happy with 10 minutes.
I love 10 minutes. Like, yes, we're done. All right, next.
But it's not even that. It's just like when
A
we're
good
about
10
to
minutes.
climax together. Like, that's
Passionate.
insane. Like,
But see, that's the thing. Because I probably have something else to do too. But I love the passionate, like 5 minutes, Sneaking in the bathroom, like that for me is the best. I like my husband, like, you don't want to make love? Who has time for that right now? I have to be somewhere.
And he was like, I'm so sorry, like I was gonna stop, but then you looked like you were having a good time, so I kept going, and I was like, no, that was amazing. Like I loved it, like, and I didn't want you to stop because then it wouldn't be as great. It would be prolonged. Like who decided sex should last for an hour? Seriously.
Those conversations are important, right? Have those conversations.
And I even think watching porn with your partner, if there is that, like, your guy that was in the living room on his own, like, because I've done it where I've just laughed with him, like, as if, come on, like, nah. And then he's like, yeah, no, it's stupid, like, yeah. And then we've just come to it, or we've tried, like, and we've just gone around it and tried and realised it's not for us. But I think it all comes down to communication in relationships. Like we started that with relationships. Yeah, exactly.
Everything.
And so I think educating the youth to speak.
But it took me a long time to come to a certain maturity with sex. Like even though I became a mother really, really young, I definitely wasn't mature enough to be anybody's girlfriend. I probably wasn't even mature enough to be in like a real sexual relationship because part of the flip side of becoming a mum really, really young was that was it. I did not want to have sex ever again. And that's like then has all the other issues, and then obviously you have loads of things with regards to like, because I didn't want to be intimate, so obviously he still wanted to be intimate, so then he was intimate with other people, and it just became the circles. That took me a while to learn that, and I was my mid-20s until I was like actually really enjoying sex. I did not enjoy it at a young age at all. It took me a really long time to get to the point where I'm like, this is nice. I was just pretending.
It was just an act.
It was just an act. It was such an act.
Yeah.
What changed? What happened in your 20s that made you realise, oh, I quite like this?
I think maybe I relaxed in some sense, and then maybe you had an experience that was good or something like that. But I think it was just me. I think I naturally just changed, matured, had more of an awareness of what I liked, what I didn't like. Started slowly to learn to be able to communicate that out. I definitely wasn't good at that at a young age. That took me a long time to get there.
I think it's understanding my own body. Looks like how I was young having a child. And it's just even understanding, exploring my own body and awareness of myself. When I was young, I was just like, it wasn't oh, this is nice, or this makes me feel like this. It's more that now, it is maturity, I think.
But then I also felt that the guys then, like, also didn't understand about me.
I was gonna say, they weren't doing that well either.
Like, he was trying his best to do whatever he'd seen in some clip somewhere, and I was trying my best to mimic the same facial expression. Like, it was shit. Like, it was shit. It was super shit.
I just think we don't, neither of us knew what was going on.
So I feel like that, but that took a long time for me to get to a space where I was like, oh no, okay, this is
I think as well, like in terms of quantity over quality and quality over quantity and all of that, for me, like I was dating a guy and we had the best sex, but he only wanted to do it every other week because he wanted it to be amazing. And he was worried that he would be tired or, from work, from pressures, from life, that if we did it all the time, it wouldn't be so good.
Very interesting.
And it made me feel terrible because I was like, but I want it. And he's like, no, I don't want it. Like, we will do it when I want to feel good. Yeah. But that was his way of being like, I want to cater to you. I want to make you feel it. And that's going to... It was a total head mess for me. And I was like, I don't understand. Like, what's happening? He doesn't like me, but he did, and he was trying to show me that that's how he wanted to go about it.
It's different from
exactly. And
the
it was
way
just
people are different in the way that they show things.
So
all your love languages.
Love languages. I found that the best sex was with the people I was like more in love with. It becomes so passionate.
Yeah,
oh my god. But just back to those love languages, I feel like we miss each other because of that.
Yeah.
If you're not speaking the same love language, how are you even gonna get me wet to get into bed, right? So everybody here knows the 5 love languages, right? Right. So I mean, sometimes with men, they usually feel like, of course, as the protectors, right, and the providers, their love language would be acts of service, them going to work, paying for bills and everything. Whereas women, we're like, we want the quality time. Like, how do you want me to connect with you if I never see you? And he's like, how do you want me to take care of you if I don't ever work? You know, like, so I had to go to letter writing after a while. Yes.
Maybe I should go.
Because I'm very direct, and if I'm angry now, it sounds like I'm yelling, which I probably am. But when you start yelling, nothing gets across. When you're kind of sending in tone, nothing gets across. And like I was speaking earlier to some of the queens in here, I'm an Aries, he's a Gemini. Air makes fire combust. So we would get nowhere quickly. So I went to writing letters and emails or long texts because that way the tone is taken out, but the information and the facts are all there, and we're not interrupting each other. So we actually learn how to do that. Like little kids, we're like writing letters to each other, but we finally get to the point like, okay, I understand what you're saying, you get what I'm saying. How do we move to the next thing?
Move on.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, I like that.
John Gray advocates that in Men Are From Mars.
Really?
Yeah, it's a technique that he uses. It's really good.
It works. I mean, we've been together now for 15 years. It works. It does. Because it takes out that tone. That tone is so dangerous.
And then as you're writing as well, I guess you get to process, and the physical act of writing means, or if people don't write anymore, do they? But I guess the act of moving your thumbs means that energetically you're letting stuff go as you do.
Yeah,
and you can
because that's
review
why
stuff.
journaling is so
You
good
get that
for you.
10-second, you get that time
Yeah.
to go, hold on a minute, actually. Whereas I think one of the problems that we have with communication is that there's no time delay. Once upon a time, if you were pissed off with somebody, if you had to phone them, you couldn't just phone them instantly on your phone. You'd have to go home, go to the phone box, so you'd have to make a phone call.
Right.
Whereas now everything is so reactive and so in the moment that you can say things that you may, had you had more time to process, you might have viewed differently, a different perspective. And then because we live in this, we're very defensive now. We're so right on point with defensiveness that you suddenly feel that you have to react to what they've reacted to, and you've got that constant.
But also, you read the message and the tone of voice that you're in,
Yes,
so the mood that you're in.
translate it.
So, and I'm definitely that person. So if I'm feeling angry or if I'm feeling sad, I'll read that. I'll take that mood from what they're saying.
Like, oh, he put a full stop there.
And I'll be like, no, but I'll just read it in like, and then my friend will be like, no, how about hello, da, da. And I'm like, oh yeah, he means that, or she means that, and messages can be misconstrued.
It's true.
And I think, I mean, you can write it out, and just writing about all my experiences with dating and everything has really helped me to understand, so this happened, and process it, and not just forget about it and put it under a stone, but actually write about how I felt in the moment and what happened and where the red flags were and all of that. And then I can learn and process and then move on and know what I want and what I don't want in the future.
Absolutely. That's good. Right, we need to wrap it up.
Do we?
But, I just had the figure. Yes, we did go from sex. But I wanted to just ask if anybody either wanted to say something or wants to add anything. Anyone want to give any advice?
Don't.
Date. And I honestly think that the
Date.
whole body count thing, for me, it's like, don't ever feel like you're a slut because you've done so many guys or
I agree
girls
with
or
you.
whatever. Like, you know, I think just live your life. Like, and like I say,
Be
have no
safe.
regrets. Yeah, be safe, but don't like hate on it, and don't hate someone else for it either. Like, I think that for me is quite a big thing.
I think one of the biggest advices I can give to women in regards to relationships, in regards to sex, I mean, we did kind of talk about it the last conversation, but if you do not heal yourself, you're going to continually get the same crap over and over and over. You have to do the work. Everything that you're attracting, everything that's in your life right now is a manifestation of trauma that happened to you when you were a child, believe it or not. Sometimes it's a manifestation of what your parents put you through. Sometimes it's a manifestation of something that whoever put you through. And you're replaying that. Every relationship that you have, whether it's friendships or whether it's romantic or whether it's even business. So if you do not do the work internally, you can even start writing down all the people that you dated and find a common denominator within each of those men. And then you will find that trauma. For example, I know women that were molested. What happens now is they are attracted, they're vibrating on the same level as womanizers.
But the scariest thing with meditation for me was when I had no thoughts. And
Right.
I was laid there like, come on, what's happening? Like, and then I had to let that go.
I find that in yoga, I do a lot of yoga, and that's my moment.
Yeah.
Just to sit there in stillness
Yeah.
and not think about anything.
But it's magical.
It's magical, and it's spirituality, not based on religion and what they're trying to stick down your throat, but it's based on one connection with your divine power, whoever or whichever that is, right?
Yeah, so
That's amazing.
onto that spirituality, I'm really big on it because I do Reiki as well.
Yeah.
And it got to the point I had to cut a relationship. It was so blunt, I had to literally block him because I was like, no, I can't have this again. No way. And then for 1 minute, I thought to myself, why am I attracting this same kind of guy? There's something going on. I need to sort this out. And I'm actually taking out the work. People are like, oh, I'm your date. I'm like, no. I need to work on myself. I need to put myself first before I can go out there and attract that man that I want. Because
Go, girl.
it was
I did
getting
that.
too much, and I thought,
Just
no,
where you
I
have
need
to
to
just
stop
stop.
this now. Stop attracting this kind of guy, and then
And also
Soon as
not
you
give
see a
in to
pattern.
peer pressure of those
Yeah,
questions
yeah.
or all of that. It's
because
Okay.
my family
Be
were
by
so
yourself.
Ghanaian, have children, have my mother. I can see her already. When someone says they've got a grandchild or they're married, I can see the look on her face. Oh my god, my daughter's she's like dying for me. But no, I'm not.
On your time.
Yeah.
On your time.
Yeah.
Like every time someone say, when you have an next child, I'm like, are you gonna be the babysitter? Because I'm not ready for another child.
Yeah.
Like that's for me, that's like starting all over.
Yeah.
And like similar to you ladies, I had my son really early, right? So when you're forced into adulthood so early on, like let me chill, right? I'm finally at a place where my son is grown and now I can live the life that I've always seen for myself. So no, I'm not pushing out any more babies. So stop asking. But again, society always does that. You're a woman, when you having a baby? When you getting married? When you doing this? Like, mind your business.
It's funny about the societal pressure on women to have children. I had a revelation about men, because I always thought that my own prejudice about men, because I always thought a man who doesn't want a child, there's something wrong with you. And I wouldn't date a guy who didn't want children or didn't have children. That was like a criteria when I started this dating process. And then it wasn't until I really did the work and got comfortable with myself and questioned, why is that? Why have you got this prejudgment that a man has to have a child, he has to be a father in order for you to want to go out with him? Exactly like you said, in the relationships that I was attracting. When I healed that, suddenly there were a couple of things that shifted. One, I quite like the idea of dating a guy who hasn't got kids and who doesn't necessarily want them and is okay with that. And also guys that are younger than me, because I had this prejudgment that a man is supposed to be, and I had all these tick boxes that what the right guy was supposed to be for me like, was supposed to be like. And it wasn't until I did the work on me and I got true about who am I and what's my journey, who am I becoming, which is what I was asking you, who am I become, that I realised that what I was working to, the template I was working to was bullshit, was absolutely rubbish, and it was based in fear, and it was based in what society says a woman should want, and it had nothing to do with who I am and what I needed. And so that was really, really powerful for me, getting clear about who am I.
That's lovely. I love that.
Yeah.
Right.
We didn't have to. We have to wrap it up.
Oh, we have to wrap it up for the filming.
There's so much to talk about.
No.
My goodness.
We're
Okay.
probably going to continue for a little bit.
So thank you all for coming. That's the end of today's WomanHood London.
Yeah.
And thanks to our guests. You lot were
Thank you so
amazing.
much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Holding God for so long, so long.